Hello and welcome to Imago Dei channel. I am your host speaker, Confidence Samson. Right here in this channel, we have some inspiring messages and sermon that will change your life, your family, and everyone around you. Do well to get your phones and then search for Imago Dei channel. Click on the subscribe button and notification button to get some wonderful and inspiring sermons and messages from our great men of God. Thank you for subscribing and God bless you.
God didn't tell the church to be fruitful. He told man to be fruitful. And that's why you don't have to be born again, for instance, to have children. When you see what the people out there are doing, they have more dominion mindset than many believers. Church people are looking for every excuse to stay small. Some Christians, their own theology is to argue, is there anything wrong in being poor? Is there anything wrong in being rich? It is true that in salvation, it has nothing to do with material resources. God has chosen the poor and the rich to be heirs and co-heirs of salvation. That's a fact. But listen, before the fall, you had an assignment. God put you on this earth and He gave you dominion. He says, be fruitful, multiply, replenish the earth and subdue it. Whether or not you do that as a child of God, it's up to you. If all you want to do is believe the gospel and wait for the coming of Christ, you're going to go to heaven. No one else should be fascinated about production like the one who believes God exists. Let there be a curiosity. The one who created me and gave me all these gifts, He must have had a reason. If all He wanted was for me to die and go to heaven, why did He give me these gifts? And don't forget the parable of the talents. When He comes back, even if you didn't lose the talent, you buried it, it's still wrong. Are you getting what I'm saying? God expects you to deploy all your gifts. Give them expression. Be a blessing to your world. Say loud amen. Today we continue our teaching series on purpose. There are two important questions that you must answer if you will understand purpose. Two important questions must be answered if you will understand purpose. Number one, what is worth living for? What is worth living for? Why are you alive? You see, there are many good things that are not God things. There are many good things that you will not categorize as worth living for. What is worth living for? You know, it's been proven scientifically that people who have something to live for, they live longer. It's a psychological wiring that when people go through tough times, if they have something to live for, they live longer. There is something that makes you endure. You know, one of the worst times in history, they got people from concentration camps, the ones who survived. A historian and a psychologist said all of them had one thing in common. They had something to live for. It is hard to kill someone who has something to live for. You know, my dad is a typical African dad. He wasn't one to always be vocal about his love for us. He just showed it, if you know what I'm saying. Not many times did he categorically say, I love you. You know, but there was a time he had to undergo an operation. And when they gave him the anesthesia and everything, in his subconscious, you know what he was saying? My children, if I die, who will pay their fees? If I die, who? That is what he was saying in his subconscious. It's hard to kill a man that has something to live for. So purpose will require that you answer the question, why am I here? What is worth living for? But it also requires that you answer the question, what is worth dying for? There must be that balance of understanding and expectation. You must know what is worth living for and what is worth dying for. And if you think deeply about this, you will discover that both questions have the same answer. That is where I'm headed. That whatever is worth living for is also worth dying for. Think about it. There is nothing that you really think is worth living for that is also not worth dying for. Nothing. If your children are worth living for, they are also worth dying for. I call it the paradox of purpose. That the moment you discover why you are alive, you have something to die for. It's the paradox of purpose. You can't divorce it. Whatever is worth living for is also worth dying for. Nobody is more scary than a man that has something to live for. Because a man who has something to live for also has something to die for. In 2017, there's a story of a man who was told that his house was on fire and his 2 daughters were inside. Without thinking, instincts. His instincts pushed him. He ran into the fire. No armor, nothing. Dragged out the first daughter, ran out. And before they could say, well done, he ran again. Covered the second daughter like this and dragged her out. There were burns on his body. He only felt it when he came out. Oh my God. You think you are not brave because you have not really touched purpose. You don't. Do you understand? There is something about purpose that impacts bravery. Some of you have heard me tell the story of when robbers came to my house years ago. A long story. When you think of the fact that you have a wife at home and daughters at home, I met them at the door. You know, maybe normally you would have thought of something else. How do I escape? No, I met them at the door. As they opened the door like this, I was there. And I said, take what you want and go. They were all caught. That's the good part. But I'm just saying, there is something that impacts bravery when you have something to die for.